Mike Wayne Jackson was a fourth-year-old ex-con living in Indianapolis when, on September 22 of 1986, he shot and killed Tom Gahl, a probation officer making a routine visit. Jackson then fled, stealing a series of cars, vans, and trucks and often temporarily taking their owners hostage. By the time he had made his way to a small town in Missouri, 2 more people were dead, and Jackson was the most sought-after criminal at large in America. Michael Wayne Jackson, the suspect in a 3-state crime spree that set off a widespread manhunt, killed himself late Thursday night after he was cornered by the police in an abandoned barn. Mr. Jackson was wanted for 3 slayings and a series of thefts and abductions across Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri. He was accused of killing his probation officer, a grocer in Indianapolis, and a motorist in Missouri. He was also accused of abducting 5 people and commandeering several vehicles. Mr. Jackson, who had painted his face silver and black, had not been seen since he fled on foot into the woods west of Wright City after crashing a stolen Cadillac into a fence along Interstate 70 on September 22. Notified about hitchhiker, the police focused on the barn about 6:20 p.m. Thursday after officers received a report that a man matching Mr. Jackson's description was seen hitchhiking about 20 miles away earlier that day. 4 officers entered the barn about 6:30 p.m., said Mr. Helterhoff of the FBI. One of the officers hit the ground when he heard a muffled shotgun blast, and the others fled, he said. 2 shots were fired by the police at the barn so the remaining officer could escape. Unaware that Mr. Jackson had committed suicide, the police used a bullhorn to try to coax him out. The police brought in 2 helicopters with searchlights and threw 8 tear gas canisters inside as they plotted how they would enter the barn. They discovered the body in the loft. "We can finally unload our shotguns," Nelson Paul, a 28-year-old resident, said as he stood outside a police command center early today. "It's like having a load of bricks lifted from your shoulders." Mr. Jackson, a 41-year-old former mental patient, shot himself in the head with the same shotgun he used throughout the rampage that began September 22 and left 3 people dead, said Hal Helterhoff, head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's office in nearby St. Louis. Mr. Jackson, still bearded and still clad in the same clothes he was wearing when he was last seen, was positively identified through fingerprints, the official said. Police did not shoot suspect during the manhunt. The police thought that Mr. Jackson had been wounded in a gun battle with 2 Wright City police officers September 22 that left 1 officer wounded. But Sergeant Ryan said today that this was not the case. The barn was less than a quarter of a mile from where Mr. Jackson was last seen after the shootout. Sergeant Ryan said Mr. Jackson apparently had not been too long in the barn, which was checked several times. The crime spree terrorized Wright City, a town of 1,200 people in eastern Missouri near St. Louis, and residents armed themselves and locked their doors for the first time in years. On Thursday night, hundreds of people had gathered along the service road of Interstate 70, hoping for the end of the 11-day hunt. Relief swept through the town as word spread that Mr. Jackson, who had vowed not to be taken alive, was found dead. Mr. Jackson's body was taken to St. Louis County Hospital for an autopsy, said Sergeant Walter Ryan of the Missouri Highway Patrol. Sergeant Ryan said a preliminary investigation indicated that Mr. Jackson had not suffered an earlier gunshot wound, as the police had believed. "We're euphoric," said Sheila Cohn, superintendent of the Wright City School District. "It's like being released from a trap. There's an overwhelming sense of relief." Renda Blobaum, a waitress at the 50s Cafe, said, "It's been terrible around here, but now it's great. Everyone is just real happy that we can get back to living normal, that we won't have to deal with roadblocks and all that, knowing that there's a maniac running around." Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and press the notification bell so that you get notifications anytime we post new videos. Also remember to like, share and leave a comment on this issue. Thank you.